by the teachings of nature.
Okay, welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Leesburg. Our theme for this year is 2020 Spiritual Vision. And for the month of July, we have a new theme, Unchained Spirituality. Our talk today will be Free at Last, Liberated by the Teachings of Nature. Right now, let's open our sacred space together, setting our intentions for our service and bringing our awareness of unity and oneness, which is represented by one lit candle. Let us close our eyes now as we bless this service and our time together. Together, let us recognize the divine presence that moves through all things. And know that this presence of love expresses as each of us in unique and beautiful ways. I know that we are blessed in this time together, and that each of us are renewed in our remembrance of love, peace, wholeness, and connection. I give thanks for everyone in attendance who is joining us today and everyone who has made our service possible. May the energy of love that is generated here today bless us all abundantly. And so it is. And now I'd like to tell you just a little bit about our agenda today, how our service will move forward from this point. We're going to start with something a little different. We're going to have a meditation for about 10 minutes. And after that, we'll have our message for today. Then we'll have our treatment. So if you have a prayer request, concern, or celebration that you'd like us to include in our treatment, please at some time before we get to that portion of our service, type up a little something in Facebook or in Google Meet chat, and we'll incorporate that in our treatment at that time. After our treatment, we'll have our music, we'll have some announcements, and then we'll end our service. But if you have some pearls, if you just like to hang out, maybe hear some more music or chat with us, please stay and join us for our meet and greet. All right, are you ready to begin? Let's have our meditation, and that will begin with Erin.
So settle in wherever you are to your cozy, comfortable seat. Take a deep breath. And now I'd like you to create a sacred space for yourself. This can be all kinds of things. It can be a beautiful, beautiful place in nature. Seated in the forest, you're surrounded by your friends, the trees, the animals. You feel serene, safe, completely protected, and peaceful. It might be a sacred space you create within your mind's eye that is otherworldly. It doesn't matter where this place is, but I'd like you to take a moment and really make a sensory experience of this. I want you to see the colors, feel the air on your skin, listen for the sounds, and then take this into your body until you see what you're feeling inside your body. Make this a real sensory experience of creating this sacred space for just a moment. And now, within this sacred space, where you are at peace and you are safe and loved. I want you to bring into your mind the memory of a feeling you had, one of gratitude and respect and kindness, when a gift was given. It could be that the gift is a beautiful sunset that you watched, the light glimmering over the water. It could be a gift you witnessed when a stranger showed an act of kindness to someone else and you watched it. And it could be something like that that happened to you directly, an act of kindness. You didn't ask for it. You didn't earn it. You didn't work for it. It simply happened to you. Maybe you were a child and it was with an elder. It could be with a pet. It really doesn't matter what experience you draw into your mind's eye. But what matters is, how does that feel, that act of giving or receiving, and that act of kindness? Make this real for a minute. Create a real picture and feeling of this experience. And now focus more on that feeling that this visual experience created for you. Do you feel love? Does it make you smile? Does it make your eyes tear up? Does it make you long for that connection? Whatever that feeling is, magnify that. And now, in your mind's eye, spread your arms out to the skies and offer up that feeling, that soft, authentic feeling within you, out into the universe. Send it out to the forests and the waters and all the living creatures in the land. Send it out to the fields and the farmers and the beautiful food that we are gifted with. Send it out to the people nearest you, around you, in your home, in your neighborhood, your extended family. Send that gifted feeling out further into your broader community, into your town, into your state, and out beyond to all the people you can picture that can be held in your mind's eye at one time. A whole world of people. People you know, mostly people you don't know. People who are just like you or are completely different. people you understand and people you don't understand, people you wish to reach out to and people you're afraid to reach out to. Hold out your arms and send that feeling of kindness, of love, of empathy to all those people in your mind's eye. Hold them as if you could hold them in that embrace of your spread arms. This is the oneness we seek. This is the feeling we want. And this is what we need. This ability to reach this place, this feeling, in order to help heal the world. And it is within us always. It never leaves us. We can stop for a moment, breathe it in, and then send it right out again. And knowing that this is true and always, we can release our fears and worries and trust that this is all possible and can happen and will happen. And so it is.
And so it is. Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much. And now we have Erin back with us. She's going to be our speaker for today. And her talk today is Free at Last, Liberated by the Teachings of Nature. So take it away, Erin.
Unchain my heart. No, I'm just kidding. I just couldn't resist, So one of the recommended readings that was on the website for this month's theme is Metahuman by Deepak Chopra. And in the preface, he describes being metahuman as a process of waking up to what has always been there within us, but we're unaware. I'm going to quote from his preface: "The transformation that makes us metahuman is known in the world's spiritual traditions as waking up. To be awake is to embrace full self-awareness. Once someone rises to the state of metahuman, it seems as if the old, everyday body was a sleepwalker, barely conscious of life's infinite possibilities." And so waking up, of course, has all the promise of all those wonderful infinite possibilities, all those good things, those life-affirming and expanding things. But there is, and I haven't read the book, but I'm guessing he also talks about a waking up to our habits of mind and our old behaviors. And it sure seems like right now, collectively, we are truly waking up to a lot of things about ourselves in America and as Americans, like, for example, hatred and prejudice and how they manifest as social and economic inequality. They've been there probably, right, for a long, long time, but we have continued to look away or kept the truth buried in ourselves. Now, I believe our religious science, spiritual principles and practices give us a big leg up in this process of reawakening. From my perspective, I find valuable teachings of liberation from our limited self-awareness come from our original teacher, which is nature or the land. And that's my focus today. So when I spoke on Earth Day, I mentioned how scientists, felt that what we've done to the environment and climate change and all these things has had a big effect on on bringing the pandemic into our experience. All these imbalances we've created, and so that's what we were focusing on Earth Day. That was the backdrop. But then, of course, came the death of George Floyd and the resulting cultural explosion. And I believe these extreme imbalances stem from an inequality in the distribution of natural resources. Now, that sounds like a very dry thing, but I really mean it that way. There is an inequality in what was originally given all of us, and that imbalance is what's created so many of our conflicts. And that includes, for example, where we live, the natural conditions of the land. So let's say you live in the desert. People fight over access to water, and water shortages lead to famine and war, and those lead to dislocation and persecution. And what's the basis? Greed over water. And that water could be shared, but we make a choice not to. So before land ownership, natural resources were shared. It's not that people didn't fight over them or fight for domination of resources, but access was more or less equal. But once property ownership began, it changed everything. It created haves and have-nots. So the humans who want to dominate are willing to destroy the whole ecosystem, including humans, to accomplish that. And that craving to dominate the land and wring every penny out of it is what led us to slavery and its legacy of racism. But that is not what the land intended. It's not the wisdom and bounty that nature offered us from the beginning. We fell asleep to its gifts and how to share them. This is a quote from Robin Wall Kimmerer. I'm going to read from her extensively in a while, and I'll tell you more about her. She's just kind of blown my mind recently. Here's the quote. Philosophers call this state of disconnection species loneliness, a deep, unnamed sadness stemming from estrangement from the rest of creation, from the loss of relationship. In nature is the power, and in the land is the power to heal from this loneliness and to experience oneness. So what are a few of nature's gifts? Inspiration. This spike of gardening interest that's come up during the pandemic, people have benefited greatly from watching something grow, which they may never have done before, or just the beauty of creating a garden, like a piece of art with colors and textures. I read a quote from a Bergen County, New Jersey ag extension agent. She said, "Let's remember, plants are non-judgmental. Plants are ready to respond to anybody starting today." And so inspiration is one of those gifts. And of course, there's the calming effect. Being out in the woods, what's more healing than a walk in the woods or meditating in your backyard? There is a calming effect, the sounds of nature and the birds and all of that. It also offers the gift of a sharpening of our senses and the power of our observation, which we really need in going forward. And in our, this is new to me, but Sunday is currently teaching us about unified mindfulness. And one of the principal exercises, two of them are concentration and sensory clarity, where you really follow something in nature, something you hear, something you see, something you feel. And nature is a great way to get started because the sounds and the views, what you see, are so inspiring and so hard to miss, impossible not to notice. So it's really helpful in sharpening, in beginning that practice and sharpening our powers of observation. And then finally, being in nature, where you're there with the plants and the pollinators and the birds and the animals, everything leads us to a sense of oneness in a total sensory way, not just up in here. So Dan gave me a book a few years ago called What the Robin Saw. And it's about bird sitting, not bird watching, which is different, bird sitting, the teacher leads you out into the woods, and for a week, you don't stay there 24/7, but each day you spend most of your time sitting in a place in the woods, in nature, and you just sit there. You don't do anything, and you begin to watch the interactions between the birds. So come to find out, the robin is one of the early alerters, like somebody's coming, something's happening, and everyone, all the other birds, the deer, the rabbits, everybody responds to that communication. So apparently this big multi-species communication is going on, and maybe maybe the trees too, who knows, but apparently you sit there for a week, and by the end of it, you're in altered state. You feel this, you're just part of this scene. You are not separate from it. And apparently people have really felt transformed. One person reported that they didn't realize it, but when they came and sat towards the end of the week, they realized there was a fox sitting a few feet behind them that they had not noticed in the beginning. So the fox came to be part of the bird sit. Anyway, I thought that was just an amazing, amazing thing. But there's something deeper going on here that can be learned from nature. So I read recently this book called Braiding Sweetgrass. The author is Robin Wall Kimmerer, and she is an amazing woman. She is a distinguished professor of environmental biology at SUNY. She is a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and that is a Upper New York State Algonquin-speaking tribe. They were relocated to Oklahoma, but she's back in New York. And she's also the founder and director of the Center for Native Peoples and the Environment. And she's an exquisite writer. Her writings, which I'm going to read you quite a sizable excerpt, it's like the most significant thing I've read in, 15 years. Anyway, this is from an essay called The Lesson of Strawberries. In a way, I was raised by strawberries, fields of them. Not to exclude the maples, hemlocks, white pines, goldenrod, asters, violets, and mosses of upstate New York, but it was the wild strawberries beneath dewy leaves on an almost summer morning who gave me my sense of the world, my place in it. Behind our house were miles of old hayfields divided by stone walls, long abandoned from farming, but not yet grown up to forest. After the school bus chugged up our hill, I'd throw down my red plaid book bag, change my clothes before my mother could think of a chore, and jump across the creek to go wandering in the goldenrod. Our mental maps had all the landmarks we kids needed: the fort under the sumacs, the rock pile, the river, the big pine with branches so evenly spaced you could climb to the top as if they were a ladder, and the strawberry patches. White petals with a yellow center, like a wild rose. They dotted the acres of crowgrass in May during the flower moon. A flower moon is during June. It's the last full moon in June and the last full moon of spring, and the Algonquin tribes called the strawberry moon because it's when the strawberries were harvested. Finding a patch, even now, after more than 50 strawberry moons, finding a patch of wild strawberries still touches me with a sense of surprise, a feeling of unworthiness, and gratitude for the generosity and kindness that comes with an unexpected gift, all wrapped in red and green. Strawberries first shaped my view of a world full of gifts simply scattered at your feet. A gift comes to you through no action of your own, free, having moved toward you without your beckoning. It is not a reward. You cannot earn it or call it to you or even deserve it. And yet it appears. Your only role is to be open-eyed and present. Gifts exist in a realm of humility and mystery. As with random acts of kindness, we do not know their source. Gifts from the earth or from each other establish a particular relationship. an obligation of sorts to give, to receive, and to reciprocate. The field gave to us, we gave to my dad, and we tried to give back to the strawberries. When the berry season was done, the plants would send out slender red runners to make new plants. Because I was fascinated by the way they would travel across the ground looking for good places to root, I would weed out little patches of bare ground where the runners touched down. Sure enough, tiny little roots would emerge from the runner, and by the end of the season, there were even more plants ready to bloom under the next strawberry moon. No person taught us this. The strawberries showed us. Because they had given us a gift, an ongoing relationship opened up between us. That is the fundamental nature of gifts. They move, and their value increases with their passage. The fields made a gift of berries to us, and we made a gift of them to our Father. The more something is shared, the greater its value becomes. This is hard to grasp for societies steeped in notions of private property, where others are, by definition, excluded from sharing. Practices such as posting land against trespass, for example, are expected and accepted in a property economy, but are unacceptable in an economy where land is seen as a gift to all. The currency of a gift economy is, at its root, reciprocity. In Western thinking, private land is understood to be a bundle of rights, whereas in a gift economy, property has a bundle of responsibilities attached. I'm a plant scientist, and I want to be clear, but I'm also a poet, and the world speaks to me in metaphor. When I speak of the gift of berries, I do not mean Fragaria virginiana has been up all night making me a present just for me, strategizing to find exactly what I'd like on a summer morning. So far as we know, that does not happen. But as a scientist, I am well aware of how little we do know. The plant has been up all night, in fact, assembling little packets of sugar and seeds and fragrance and color, because when it does so, its evolutionary fitness is increased. When it is successful in enticing an animal such as me to disperse its fruit, its genes for making yumminess are passed on to ensuing generations with a higher frequency than those of the plant whose berries were inferior. The berries made by the plant shape the behaviors of the dispersers and have adaptive consequences. What I mean, of course, is that our human relationship with strawberries is transformed by our choice of perspective. It is human perception that makes the world a gift. When we view the world this way, strawberries and humans alike are transformed. The relationship of gratitude and reciprocity thus developed can increase the evolutionary fitness of both plant and animal. A species and a culture that treat the natural world with respect and reciprocity will surely pass on genes to ensuing generations with a higher frequency than the people who destroy it. The stories we choose to shape our behaviors have adaptive consequences. So there was the revelation for me. Respect and reciprocity. And that is what is missing in our society. Here's one definition of reciprocity. Emotional reciprocity exists when you provide empathetic support to someone, and when you're in need, that person meets you at an equal level to provide you with empathetic support. It's a mutually beneficial relationship with balanced levels of give and take. So to me, there, more than the exquisiteness of nature and all the bounty it gives it, there's the secret of its teachings. Empathy, respect, and reciprocity. And those are the qualities we desperately need to heal ourselves and the world. In nature, the buffet of self-awareness is right under our noses, right before our eyes, and it's free. We just have to pause, be mindful, and take it in. So I'm going to tell you one other story that's very encouraging that Robin tells, because, that sounds like a big, challenging thing, but in a way, it isn't. And so I think this story of her teaching illustrates that. So she happened to be at one point in her life in the South at an evangelical college for wealthy, elite Christians who were going to go into med school. That's a whole long story, but nonetheless, that's where she found herself. And she was going to teach. They had to take biology, so she was going to teach them this course. And against her, for her department head's feelings about it, she said, "I'm taking them out into the woods for a weekend." And they were all like, "What? Outdoors? I mean, these are for some reason, apparently, biology students don't like to go outside anymore because they want to do it all on the computer." I'm looking at Charlene. So anyway, but she would no way. So she took them out there, and they were in the Great Smokies, and she took them up ascending levels of changing forest till at the top, apparently, and I think I've seen this, but I can't remember, there is a remaining swath of boreal in the Great Smokies. So as she did this, they were immersed in every plant, the roots of trees, the soil, the cataloging and naming and labeling and observing and sleeping they built their own wigwam and slept in there. And I mean, it was really a total immersion experience. And at one point she was asking about, what did they feel about the connection they were seeing between all the different creatures? And of course, one good young Christian said, "Well, that's God's design. That's how it's intended. He made it." And so she like zipped her lips and said, "I'm not going to explain that we're actually one with them. They're like us. We are part of their family." She didn't go there. So she was feeling very dejected by the end of this weekend because here what she really wanted to do was get them to have that feeling, that recognition. And she felt she'd failed. All she'd done is given them a big notebook full of, names and facts. And so as they're mostly down the mountain, one of them starts singing Amazing Grace. I was lost, now I'm found. I was blind, and now I see. And she didn't prompt them. They all were singing together. She had an epiphany that they did get it, and that singing was some primal way of speaking back to the place they'd been, to nature, and to say, "I hear you, and I sing back to you." So now, when she teaches and she takes her students out into these full immersion experiences, she waits. And she says, it never fails. At the very end, someone starts singing. Maybe they make up songs with the trees, names, and they make up whole things, or they sing some song everyone knows. But she says she like waits for it, and she knows that they got it and that they're singing back to what they just experienced. And and I close with her quote: "The land is the real teacher. All we need as students is mindfulness."
Thank you. Thank you. So wonderful. Erin, you always inspire me when you speak. I take your words with me throughout the day when I go out into nature, when I go for a walk, and they just resonate with me. I know I'm not alone with that. So now we're going to have music from Nina and Leanne, and I'm going to encourage you to enjoy the music, but also, never mind. I think we're going to do our treatment. So let me do this. We're going to have our treatment, and I've been monitoring the chat room. So if you have something, add to that, and I'll try to incorporate that. And I have also been listening and taking a few notes. So Erin, I'm going to incorporate a few of your words into our treatment for today. So let's just take a moment. I don't know about you, but I went to such a nice, peaceful place during the meditation at the start of our service. If possible, close your eyes. Try to sink back into that wonderful, peaceful place. Picture all the things around you in nature, knowing that everything that you can think of is God, is that divine spirit, that presence that just loves us all, holds us all, blesses us all, the animals, the trees, the plants, the strawberries, and you. We're all part of this wonderful, glorious creation. I am part of this, and you are part of this. Everybody has their little role that they play in this divine experiment of life. And so I know that our prayers, whether they're shared or whether they're just held in your heart, all is heard, all is well. I know that there is a presence with Chris Ray, who is looking for the perfect job in aviation. And I know that with God's grace, with God's timing, with God's divine presence, that perfect opportunity is going to come his way. I also know that for folks who are struggling at this time financially, some are without homes, some are wondering how they're getting by, that there is abundance. There is love, there's friendship, there's compassion, and that all people who are struggling at this time are having their needs met. Maybe there's a point where they're thinking it can't happen, but something is coming through. Friends, strangers, there is abundance all around us, and everyone is having their needs met at the perfect time in the perfect way. I also know, based on the message that we just received from Aaron, that we have the opportunity in front of us today to wake up our mind and wake up our hearts and notice the incredible gifts that nature provides, the gifts that are all around us. There is so much abundance that nature just keeps bringing into our lives, and that is always there, and all we need to do is just wake up and notice all the things that we have, the gifts that we have. Nature is our original teacher, and it's so nice to remember that any time we can go back and think of that and be blessed. We can hold gratitude in our heart. We can also have reciprocity. I am so grateful for this time together that we have, for the knowledge, for the understanding that nature is constantly taking care of us. Through the bird singing a song, a fox suddenly surprising us as we walk down a nature trail or in the woods, coming across a turtle or a frog or a salamander when you're out, looking at all the abundance, the clouds in the sky, the blades of grass, the leaves on the trees, the grains of sand. Nature is always reminding us that we are so loved and so blessed, and we are one with nature. So just with a grateful heart, I release these words into the universe, knowing that all is well, all is sacred, and we are all one with it, and so it is. And now with that thought, let's go to some music with Nina and Leanne. And I'm going to encourage you to open up your heart to this wonderful continuation of messages. And I'll turn the crystal.
Okay, well, good morning. We are happy to be here. This is our recording of a song by Harold Payne called To Be Free.
down my fears and dare to dream. And for that moment of quiet dignity, I will feel what it's like to be free. I will feel what it's like to be free.
Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Nina and Leanne. I will cleanse my soul in the mountain stream. Doesn't that just perfectly match with our message today? And now we've reached the part of our service where we have some announcements. And I'm going to look and see if I have something to share with you. During this time, we're always looking for some donations, and we have a variety of ways that you can send them in to us. And there is a way to send via text message. There's a way to send via a whole bunch of different ways. And I know we'll have that. There it is, that information sharing with you. So let's just join together and say our blessings of abundance. The presence of Spirit with me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, bring gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. And so it is. So here's that information. You can text your donation, and you can see the number there on the screen. We also have a way for you to send in your donation through Cash App. Of course, you can use a good old-fashioned writing a check and mailing it in. And we also have your payment accepted through PayPal. So all these different ways that you can share your abundance. We are a tithing community. What you give, we take and we pass out into our community. So we thank you so much for that. We also have some events that happen during the week, and we'd love for you to join us. We have a dream study that's happening on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. with our wonderful Shirley Banks. And on Thursdays, you heard Erin mention, join us for our unified mindfulness practice with our Reverend Sunday Cote, and that is on Thursdays at 9 a.m. And we'll see if we have any more announcements. I can't think of anything in particular, but I can tell you that, Erin, I will go out and take my walk today because you always, always inspire me. And there's a new trail that I just found that takes me through a lovely lake. So I think I'm going to try that out today. So please stay and join us. If you have to leave us, that's fine. We know you're going to have a blessed day. But if you can, join us. We'll have our meet and greet. We'll share our pearls at that time. And I think I've heard a rumor we might also have a little more music coming our way. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a blessed rest of the week. And yes.